Welcome back. The COVID-19 pandemic hasn't just disrupted our working lives, it's wreaked havoc on our sleep as well, with 1 in 5 people saying that their sleep quality has suffered since the rise of the coronavirus.
So what can we do to get our sleep pattern back on track? Deirdre McSweeney, cognitive behaviour therapist for insomnia, joins us now on Skype with some helpful advice. Deirdre, good morning and thank you for joining us. And as Laura said, it's something that a lot of us are experiencing. And can we put it all down to the fact that routines have effectively gone out the window for the last 6 weeks?
Totally, because our sleep actually is one of our simplest pieces of biology that actually runs all by itself. But of course, to be truly tired and sleepy in the evenings, we have to have put in a hectic kind of a day, because that little mechanism in our brain creates a sleep pressure, which gives us the signals for when to sleep and how much to sleep. It's quite simple, Simon, actually. It's the turn of the planet. It's from light to dark and from sleep to wake. But because we have this new landscape really facing us currently, things are all up in the air. The one thing I always stress to people is to only get to bed when you're truly sleepy. Not just because you feel tired, knackered, stressed out, having had a day, trying to entertain the kids as well as juggle a work environment, but also just give over to that lovely sensation that sleepiness is, which is almost irresistible. You have to consider the difference between tiredness and sleepiness is one that tiredness is simply where you deserve to have a rest, a break. You've been out killing yourself in the garden or running around the block, within limits, with the kids or whatever. But, sleepiness is that other signal that comes in the evening, and it's generated by a little hormone that is within our brain called melatonin.
Deirdre, many of us would probably feel a little bit shortchanged out there in that they could feel a sense of lethargy during the day. They might be very busy with their children doing the schoolwork. They could be very busy working themselves from home and feel kind of exhausted. And yet, when the children are at bed by 8 or 9 o'clock at night, there's almost a renewed sort of sense of life again. So when maybe 10:30 or 11 comes, you're not tired at all. So how do we combat that?
Yeah, and that is kind of interesting because there is a new term that we use in sleep medicine now called tired but wired, where a lot of people talk about this, getting to bed, and suddenly the brain goes bananas and it just takes off and seems to drive sleepiness away. I have to say the key triggers and important aspects in our life is to do with light and exercise. And we have great opportunities currently to increase our light intake, which gets into our brain and, as I say, will give us the appropriate message at the other end of the day to get ourselves to bed. The important thing is not to go to bed on the clock. Go to bed now because you're sleepy. We all had to use the clock a lot when we were working in our normal environment, if I can call it that, where you did have to be on the road at a particular time or dashing for the Dart or Lewis or whatever. But just give over to this. The one thing also I'd like to stress is that regardless of the kind of night's sleep you had, and I'll talk about where that pivots in a minute, is you should get up at the same time every morning, regardless. Because you're going to get into your day and generate a sleep pressure, a sleep want at the appropriate end of that. But a lot of people do talk about their sleep difficulties being either getting off to sleep or staying asleep, or just this actual fragmentation in their sleep. So really, it's a case of just trying to kind of manage the timetabling in there. And the one element that we also have to address is that there is a kind of an underlying anxiety in people's lives at this point. It's based on several topics, if you want to call it that. There is the worry that, people are going to get this thing, get this virus, or worries about other people being vulnerable. There's the worries about what's life going to be like for us when I do get back to work, or how I'll juggle the childcare again or whatever, because things have fallen apart somewhat. So they're all very real in there. And I want to let people know they're very real. They're also in everybody's life. But there's lots of different forum and fora out there where people can deal with sort of issues to do with anxiety or depression or feeling that they're just not coping with this. You know, there's the online Aware platform, for example, is out there, and there's lots of other supports. And of course, GPs are in there still working away at helping us all.
Because that seems to be, Deirdre, what I know, speaking from my own experience, it is what's keeping you awake and stopping you from going to sleep at night, is when you do actually fall into bed exhausted or tired or sleepy, and you try to close your eyes, and you start asking yourself those questions, and you're worrying about those people in your family that you're not seeing. How do we soothe ourselves into sleep then at that point?
Okay, well, one of the strategies we always use in the field of cognitive behavior therapy is to simply set aside a few minutes for yourself in the early part of the evening. Get yourself a little piece of paper and write down some bullet points for it. Writing is important. It sort of cleanses us and is our highest cognitive functioning ability, obviously. But just write down a couple of things about how today went for you, how you feel about it, and then you dump it.
It's almost cathartic.
And on the same bit, what?
It's almost cathartic, like get rid of it.
Yeah, exactly. And on the same bit of paper, Simon, you write down what you know you have to get done for tomorrow. I mean, at this point, things are different. So now we have a little bit more time, so we can actually, get out there and get online to see, can we get a cheaper insurance, or is the NCT disc on the car up to date? So it doesn't matter but it doesn't matter what it is, Simon. I want you to get it all together on that bit of paper.
Exactly.
And the early part of the evening is important for you, because then your relaxed time should be your time for yourself to really just flow into this. Let sleepiness fall in on top of you. And you know, when you get to bed, stop those thinkings, stop that thought processing. Everything is written down on a bit of paper on the worktop in the kitchen.
And
Deirdre,
sleep will follow. Thanks, Deirdre.
Yeah, some great tips there. Thank you so much for joining us today. Time for a quick break now. Lots more still to come. See you in a few minutes.